Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Assembly of Osteopathic Graduate Medical Educators webinar series. We are pleased to have you join us for this joint webinar hosted by AOGME, the Academy for Professionalism in Healthcare and Professional Formation, featuring Dr. Dennis Novack, Professor of Medicine and Associate Dean of Medical Education at Drexel University College of Medicine and founder of Professional Formation. AOGME is a proud partner with APHC and Professional Formation for this webinar. My name is Anita Albritton, Program Manager for GME Initiatives at AACOM, and I will help moderate this webinar. Before we get started, I would like to review a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded. The webinar recording will be posted on the AOGME webinar webpage shortly. All webinar participants are in listen-only mode. If you experience technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat feature and we will assist you. If you have questions during the webinar for our presenter, please feel free to submit them anytime through the Q&A feature. If time permits at the end of the webinar, our presenter will respond to your questions. I will now briefly introduce our speaker. Dennis Novack, MD, is a professor of medicine and associate dean of medical education at Drexel University College of Medicine. During his distinguished career, he has been dedicated to teaching and research and enhancing physician-patient communication and professionalism. He has implemented his published research into practical applications, .com and professional formation online training program for students, residents, clinicians, and healthcare personnel. On ResearchGate, Dr. Novack is recognized in the top 5% of cited researchers worldwide and among the top 3% of researchers on academia.edu, platforms which collect paper citation. Over 70 of his research studies has been published in peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Novack is the recipient of the 2020 George L. Engel Award from the Academy for Communication in Healthcare, and he is the president of the Academy of Professionalism in Healthcare. Thank you again to Dr. Novack for being with us today and preparing this presentation. With that, I will turn it over to you, Dr. Novack.
Okay, thank you, Anita. So I've been asked to give a kind of a lightning presentation of professionalism and professional identity formation, a lightning review. Let me share my screen. Realizing our potential as healers, professional identity formation. Okay, there we go. I don't know if any of you recognize this man. This was George Engel, my mentor. I did a fellowship many moons ago in psychosomatic medicine with Dr. Engel. He's the creator of the biopsychosocial model, which pretty much every medical school in the world says they're teaching to. Basically saying that we live in a set of encompassing spheres, all the way from subatomic particles to cells, tissues, organs, person, and then we're contained in families, communities, cultures, societies, nations, and so on. And the idea is that any disturbance in any one of those levels will disturb the your entire being. And I think you all know about that. And it talks about it really highlights the differences and connections between disease and illness, and really an approach, a biopsychosocial approach.
Dr. Novack?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So your slides are not in a presentation mode. We can see all the slides at one time.
Oh, well, that didn't work. That's not how it worked the last time. Thank you for telling me that.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if I can fix that. Hold on. Let's try it a different way. Let's try this. Let's see if this works.
No,
That didn't work?
no, sir.
All right, then I'll have to go back to, hold on. Sorry about
Oh,
this.
you have to go ahead and click use slideshow at the top.
I'm sorry, where is it? Oh,
At
is
the
it?
top left, use slideshow.
It might be covered by my, by the share thing. Where is view slideshow? Oh, wait, no. View slideshow?
It's right at the top. I see. Yes, that one
This?
right there.
Is that working?
Perfect. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. We actually rehearsed this and it worked differently. Technology. Okay. All right. So yeah, the biopsychosocial model and treating your patients within a biopsychosocial context is in many ways the most effective way to go. And the biopsychosocial model is really a foundation for what professionalism, which has become a buzzword in medical education, probably for the last 25 years or so. Tom Inouye, one of the early writers about professionalism, said in a white paper for the AAMC, as they move through their undergraduate medical education, our students also move from being open-minded to being fact-surfeited, from being intellectually curious to being increasingly focused on just that set of knowledge and skills that must be acquired to pass exams, from being open-hearted and empathetic to being emotionally well-defended, from idealistic to cynical about medicine, medical practice, and the life of medicine. I don't know if that rings true for many of you, but it certainly rings true for many schools. So what is professionalism? There are a bunch of definitions, but they all have a lot in common. They go from the very simple to professionalism. It is a trust-generating promise, representing commitment to patient's interest, more than a mere business, a social contract, public and collective promise and hard work, and the application of virtue to practice, deeper attitudes rather than mere behavior. And that's Howard Brody and David Dukas. One of the most widely circulated definitions of professionalism is the physician charter, which was a joint effort of the American Board of Internal Medicine, the American College of Physicians, and the Academy, the ASIM, Academic Society of Internal Medicine, the European Federation of Internal Medicine, and this has been accepted by over 180 medical organizations, and they basically said, physician charter, professionalism is a set of principles, the primacy of patient welfare, patient autonomy, and for the first time, an emphasis on social justice, and a set of commitments, adherence to principles and commitments, professional competence, responsibilities, confidentiality, quality of care. I think most of you wouldn't disagree with any of these commitments. Although, how often are they actualized in practice? It's another issue. I looked up the AOGME statements on professionalism, and pretty much they defer to the ACGME, who did a big project on professionalism. And declared a bunch of competencies, and the RRC, at least for internal medicine residency, all residencies actually, have to show that they are assessing professionalism, and they created several domains and levels. I don't know if you've seen these, professional behavior and ethical principles, and you can see, I don't want to go through them in depth, but you can look at them on the ACGME website. If you look at these, they're a little artificial. If level 1 is like beginning interns, the beginning of internship, or by level 5, you're a chief resident, or senior resident, or you go from being able to identify and describe lapses all the way to coaching others and so on. But if you look at these, probably most of you would agree that you have interns who are level 4, etc. And how do you assess these competencies is a much more difficult nut to crack. Accountability, let me just move this. Conscientiousness, same thing. Self-awareness and help-seeking. Here's a big one: recognizes limits in knowledge, skills, or self or team. Need some help in recognizing that, etc. And it goes up the line. You certainly want your residents to recognize the limits of their knowledge and ask for help, and not just wing it. So these are the kinds of competencies that are demanded now by oversight organizations. Why else an emphasis on professionalism? And for the last 20 years or so, we've known that unprofessional behavior and training has consequences, and there have been a number of studies that look at graduates of medical schools years later who are disciplined by their state medical boards. And it turns out that the odds ratio of them being disciplined is quite high, 3-to-1 odds ratio, if they have been disciplined for unprofessional behavior in medical school. So yeah, this is the initial work was done by Maxine Papadakis, and when she published the New England Journal, and after she published this, everybody was like, "Ooh, maybe we need to get a little more organized about responding to unprofessional behavior." The 100-year anniversary of the Flexner Report, Carnegie Foundation asked Molly Cook, Dave Irby, and Bridget O'Brien to do research and create an update, a 100-year update of the Flexner Report, and it's a pretty interesting text. One of the most interesting to me was that they said, hey, there are 4 goals of medical education: standardization of learning outcomes, individualization in learning, integration of formal knowledge and clinical experience, development of habits of inquiry. But one of the 4 was focus on professional identity formation. The development of professional values, actions, and aspirations should be a major focus of medical education, period. There should be a period there. It should build on essential foundation of clinical competence, communication and interpersonal skills, ethical and legal understanding, extend to aspirational goals in the performance of excellence, accountability, and humanism. So one of the 4 goals, 4 pillars of medical education needs to be a focus on professional identity formation. How well do each of you do that, and how do you know it's actually happening? So what is professional identity formation? I like Mark Holden's definition. His group in Texas have done a lot of work on that. Professional identity formation is a transformative journey through which one integrates the knowledge, skills, values, and behaviors of a competent humanistic physician with one's own unique identity and core values. And it's a continuous process of personal and professional growth through mentorship, self-reflection, experiences that affirm best practices, etc. This is in many ways more of a challenge than teaching people, you know, how to adjust the dials on a event. And then the cruces. I don't know, some of you may have read Sylvia and Dick Cruce's work. They're among the most published scholars on professionalism, and not that long ago, they decided to amend Miller's Pyramid, which I think many of you have seen already, into, you know, what kind of assessment do you need at different levels, and you know, from the foundation of knows, then knows how, shows how, does in action, and but the very top is, you know. So you are now a fully competent physician or other healthcare provider that has incorporated all the values and aspirations of your profession and expresses them in your behavior. Yeah, I just want to highlight this sort of continuum. This is we had a nifty idea some years ago when we did I did a survey of residents when I was at Rhode Island Hospital. I had I was co-leader of the resident support group, and there was a lot of burnout, and some students, some residents were depressed, and so I was looking at, you know, how much negative emotionality is there in this residency program, and I gave out some standardized questions, but I just added a question, you know, where do you stand on this continuum? Just put a mark down on this 100-millimeter line. Is medicine a job for you? You know, it means to a good income. You regard yourself as doing medicine, or is it a calling? Is it your identity? You are a physician. And it turned out that the people who scored higher, who put their marks more towards the calling end of the scale, had less negative emotions, less burnout. And, you know, you can imagine why that might be the case. You know, because residency is not a great job, face it, you know. But if it's what you're meant to do, you know, you can kind of put up with almost anything. So what is professional formation about? What do we have to do to get there? And I'm you know, I'm just going to go through this quickly, and because I want to get to some questions, and people have already mailed in some questions. You know, so I think here are some of the steps towards professional formation. You have to really understand and embrace and practice within a biopsychosocial perspective. I can talk more about that. You have to reflect on your core values and develop congruence in thoughts and behavior. Who talks about their core values? You know, I think I remember doing that maybe in as a junior in college over some beers, or, you know, maybe some other substances. You know, at 2 in the morning, what are your core values? But really, it's important to connect with your core values and see how they sync with the core values that you're aspiring to as a practitioner. And then reflecting on whether or not you're adhering to your core values in your work. You know, there's often a discrepancy. You can't be a professional without good communication skills, and a number of the students we remediate and the residents that I've talked to over the years have had deficits in their communication skills, often because they're a little bit burnt out. Work on your self-awareness and abilities to use that awareness in enhancing your relationship with patients and colleagues. Become a reflective practitioner. We are all hardwired as to judge and assess and stereotype, and we meet new people, and within 30 seconds we have an opinion. I've learned that most of my instant opinions, or at least half of them, are wrong. And once I get to know people, they're a lot more interesting and have more depth than I ever imagined at first. But we have these instant reactions. Oh my God, this patient reminds me of my mother-in-law, and that gets in the way. And you want to be able to notice that, reflect on it, walk away from it, so it doesn't impair your connection with the patient and your ability to heal that patient. A reflective practice. What's in your listening? Your listening should be a clearing, an open space that patients can pour themselves into, free of judgment. But it's often cluttered, or the space of our listening is often cluttered with judgments, assumptions we make, stereotypes. We need to be right about stuff. We take things personally. We have emotional reactions and so on. We have to learn to clear out that space. So their overall goals, students should be aware of how their personal histories, cultures, current personal lives, etc., and use their emotional response for their patient's benefits. You have to care for yourself physically and emotionally, because if a patient is pouring their hearts out to you and saying how much their life isn't working, and you're sitting there thinking, boy, you think you got problems, you're not going to be helpful to that person. So you have to, we have to make space for and help our residents and trainees with their well-being activities. It has to be a part of our curricular efforts. So, here are the objectives. Explain the virtues that guide your healthcare professionals, students, and residents must be able to explain the virtues that guide their interactions, discuss their own character strengths and limitations. You can actually take a test, online and see what your character strengths are. Navigate the balance between objectifying and over-identifying with patients. This gets people in trouble all the time. Either way, either side of that. Confront their fears of death. Become comfortable giving bad news and talking with dying patients and their families. Here's some Aristotelian virtues. Which are your top two? And how well are you expressing them? And these are all, so you can have an hour discussion with your group about each one of these. Actually, we measure these. We have Anita mentioned, we have a professionalformation.org website. We got a grant from Arthur Vining Davis from the Macy Foundation to put up a website on a resource online on professional formation. And we have some ways of measuring. This is where did that go? I'm sorry. Where the IRI measures empathy, your attitudes towards empathy. This is the stress scale. This is a reflective ability scale. This is the values behavior concordance. I filled this out over a period of time. Around here is when my hospital went bankrupt, and 245 of my friends and colleagues were fired on the same day. Well, my empathy was down, and my stress was up, and my ability to reflect on my clinical practice was down, et cetera. And I wasn't expressing my compassion and generosity very well. Yeah, you can look at that sort of move from self-centeredness to patient-centeredness. We're all self-centered, and we move gradually or suddenly into realizing it's all about the patients. Cultivate their commitment to social justice and thought and action. Become confident when you know and don't know. Learn from mistakes through reflection and discussion. become helpful members and leaders. Teams grow in moral development. You can actually grow in your moral development. There's a lot written and known about moral development. Imposter syndrome can get in the way of all that. I can't see you, but just think about this. How many of you have imposter syndrome? You know, that syndrome of thinking, everybody thinks I'm smart, but I'm really, you know, a fraud. I can tell you that it's extremely common. You know, my doctoring group of interns, I had 12 interns a couple of years ago before my residency program died with the bankruptcy. But I had 12 interns. I said, how many of you, you know, I explained it. How many of you had the imposter syndrome? All 12 raised their hands. It's very common. And you need to discuss it. Enhance your capacity for empathy and compassion, develop emotional intelligence and emotional regulation. It's a lifelong, this is a lifelong quest. I'm in my mid-70s now. I'm still working on emotional intelligence. You know, when my wife says something, you know, makes a critical remark, and I'm tired, and you know, years ago I might have, you know, said, "Oh yeah, well you," and now I go like, "Oh, yeah, I think like, how do I want to spend the next few hours here? Do I want to be angry? Nah, you know," and you know, I respond in a very different way, and we get over it very quickly, and we're back to you know, on good grounds. But that's, you know, I developed that in my 70s. I'm working on my emotional intelligence. Well, you can work on it in residency and all through our practice. Balance self-criticism with self-acceptance and gratitude. We all have a negative bias. There's a lot of work on negativity bias. Develop moral courage. This is a big one. Speak up, be upstanders, become contributors to a positive learning environment. I deal with this a lot lately in the undergraduate sphere. We have attendings and residents who make inappropriate comments, and when students don't speak up, they or the junior, you know, the junior residents or interns don't speak up, then they're complicit. And a negative learning environment continues. So you have to have some moral courage to speak up to unprofessional comments. And of course, I've said it twice now, maintain your well-being. What can each of us do? Become the change we want to see, work on our own well-being, work on our self-awareness, reflective abilities, comment on professionalism breaches, model empathy to our junior colleagues, and comment on what we're doing in the moment. Model effective interprofessional relationships. Let me just say that professional formation.org is free at the moment. We developed it a couple of years ago. We were going to put it out for a very modest subscription fee, but because of the pandemic, we decided to make it freely available, at that website. But come the spring, we're actually going to release it for subscriptions. But there's 14 modules on here that deal with various aspects. And if you join the Academy on the Academy on Professionalism in Healthcare, part of your membership is a free subscription to professional formation. So yeah, I have videos that I could show you. There's lots of videos in this, but one way of teaching professionalism is to have people watch videos and reflect. I'll just show you a moment of this one.
Oh, man. She was fat. Yeah, like you could roll her off.
So, I'm the attending that makes a fat joke, and then everybody, comes up with a fat joke. Fat shaming is the most common unprofessional comment made by people on the wards. And, somebody has to call it out. And we have other videos that show how to respond to that. So let me stop there and get to some of your questions. I have 2 slides worth of questions, but I'm happy to stop before we get to these questions and see if there, Anita, maybe some people put questions in the chat.
No, sir. Well, someone did ask, can the slides be shared after the presentation? So do you mind if we send it out to the people who registered?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You're welcome. I'll send it to you after this.
Perfect. Outside of that, no, sir, you can go with the questions that were sent in.
Okay, suggestions for professionalism homework assignments for College of Medicine students that act unprofessionally. Yeah, so we have a repository for that. So whoever asked that, please feel free to get in touch with me. The dn22@drexel.edu. DN Dennis Novack, dn22@drexel.edu. We have a whole process. This afternoon, actually, before this session, I went to a meeting of our professionalism remediation board. We have a group of senior folks at the med school that review all the students who've been referred for professional remediation. We all are coaches for them, for these students. We have a bunch of readings, some of them from professionalformation.org, but a number of articles that we review with the students as appropriate. We'll often meet with these students. It depends on what their breach was, but some of them we meet for a year, periodic meetings over a year until we feel that they've got it.
Dr. Novack?
Yeah.
We did receive one question. How can schools move the needle for those students who are on the low empathy end of the spectrum?
How can what?
How can schools move the needle for those students who are on the low empathy end of the spectrum?
Yeah, you have to teach empathy and assess it. So, empathy. So, what is empathy? It's the ability to understand what might be going on with somebody else. Walk a mile in my shoes. But it's also the ability to convey that understanding back to the patient or client in a way that they get, that you get it, and there are a number of behaviors, obviously, that promote empathy. So we have, there's a lot written about the behaviors that promote empathy, and there's mnemonics, nurse, naming an emotion, talking, expressing your understanding, reflecting on the emotion, supporting, this pearls, etc. And these are discrete behaviors. What we do is we teach the behaviors, and then we assess them. They're part of our assessments in the middle and the end of first year, second year. They're part of the assessments in third year, our clinical skills exam. What that means is you make students do the behaviors. So there are people who are born empathic or they're raised empathic. I mean, it's the number of mirror neurons in your brain. It's a genetic component to empathy, and some people have a lot more than others. But I think that almost all medical students, all healthcare trainees, can enhance their empathy. So if you kind of make them do the behaviors, and then they get feedback from patients about how well that works for them, they start to naturally improve their attitudes towards that. And you can check at least students' attitudes towards empathy by the Jefferson Scale, physician empathy, the IRI, and so on. So you can see the results of your efforts. And the other thing, you just have to role model it. You have to do some faculty development. You have to show empathic and compassionate behavior and comment on it while your students are with you as you make your rounds and interact with patients. I have seen, I have seen students that have come in and, they're scientific. They come up to me and they go, "Oh, what are you talking about? I'm just here to learn the science. Why all this soft stuff?" And then 2 years later, they're like writing articles for JAMA about, holding somebody's hand and how meaningful it was. It happens. I've seen it. So it's not a fruitless effort. I don't know. Did I answer that question?
So the person asks, the question is, what actually changes behavior other than not accepting low empathy students in the first place? And have you had success with medical improvisation?
Well, we do a lot of, so our small groups that teach history taking skills, we work with standardized patients, and the standardized patients come in and they all have some major emotional issues and some secrets. And we often, so one way that I like to do it with my students is each student is part of one physician. And so they start the interview and they do 1.5 minutes of an interview. Then we stop and comment on it. And if they make an ineffective intervention or they miss an empathic cue, we can say, "Okay, so how did that land for you?" And the SP will go, "Well, I'm pretty upset, but the student doesn't seem to notice." Great. Okay, so what could you do differently? It's what you ask the student. What might you do that might elicit? And then they try, and then the group goes, "Yeah, why don't you try this? Why don't you try saying, you look sad." See where that gets you. And then they try it, and then, and then they get a much better reaction. So yeah, we do a lot of that. It's kind of improvising in the moment with the help of the group. But no, we haven't. I know I've done improvisation, and I've done it with colleagues in front of groups, but I haven't used it regularly in our teaching of empathy. But if the person who asked the question does a lot of that and has had success, I'd love to hear about it. Yeah. Other questions in the?
Yes, sir. Every couple of years, I encounter a student who is reported by other students as consistently not being a team player. By that, I mean either does not complete their portion of an assignment or monopolizes the spotlight. Is it enough to meet once or twice with the student, or should I develop a series of role plays or simulations involving other students?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. In terms of, I don't mean to be glib about it. In terms of, guidelines for that, I can tell you that we have. I don't know if the person asking the question does peer does peer evaluation. Maybe I can't see, obviously. Maybe people could do it. I could stop sharing and people could talk. Can you let people talk with me? Or it's not what doesn't work that way?
We can, I don't think it works that way. We set it up in the background,
I see.
so that they can only be in listen only
They can
mode.
only chat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we do peer evaluation. A lot of the work in our school is in small groups of 10. And on several occasions, they fill out a rubric, and some of the items relate to how they work, how they play together in groups, how they work, and those items that this your faculty member asked about are in that: dominating the group, not a team player, doesn't say anything. And they get one, from they get graded 1 to 6. And if students get consistently ones, or several ones, they get referred to our professionalism remediation board, and people meet with them, and meet with them to see what's going on, over a number of times. Because typically these students are not tremendously self-aware, but some of them are, and they're socially awkward, or they've got underlying reasons. They got an underlying depressive disorder. It's a lot of reasons, and we work with them until we see, and hear that they're doing better, and then subsequent peer evaluations can show whether or not our work with them has had any impact. So I think there are ways of evaluating that. I can, if you want, I can, shall I show our, I think I can find pretty quickly our peer evaluation instrument. Would that person like to see it, or would the group like to see it? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me just stop sharing and see if I can find it. Peer evaluation. Let's see. Let's see this one. So this is a poster my colleagues put together for some meeting. I don't know. Can you all see that? Can you see that, Anita? Am I still on this call?
I can see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry, it's a 5-point scale, but you can see participation, accountability, and responsibility. Attends sporadically, often late, doesn't meet expectations for attendance, consistently unprepared, doesn't do his or her fair share, lacks respect of others, so respect for others, lacks respect, unable to give appropriate feedback, reacts defensively, seeks faculty attention while undermining peers, leadership, often displays difficulty in explaining his or her thought, doesn't share information or resources, doesn't support learning, frequently inappropriate. So, most people get, 3s or 4s, or some get 5. If people get consistent 5s, we give them commendations, professionalism commendations. If they get consistent 1s or 1s and 2s, we look at those students, and you can give this out, like 2 times a year, 3 times a year. It only takes a minute or 2, and you can collect it by computer. Some faculty have to review it, etc. But it's I think a decent way of looking. It's probably one of the better ways of looking at students' professionalism, especially when they do small group work, because their colleagues know who's being professional and who's being helpful and who's caring, etc., and who's not being a good team player. Were there other questions in the chat?
Someone asks, you are given that evaluation form to each student from a group to fill out for every student in their group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The people do it pretty quickly, though. We didn't get a huge number of complaints. Yeah, I think there might be I can't remember if they changed it to, I just don't remember. I'm sorry, I haven't been associated with that process for a few years now. So they might have changed it, but if you want to get in touch with me, I'll refer you to whoever oversees that. We also look at people who consistently give people 1s, because we know who they are, because there's some people who are consistently dissing their peers, and that's also a problem. Other questions?
No, sir, that was the last question in the chat.
All right. Well, we still have another minute or 2. How do you help a student become more self-reflective of unprofessional behaviors? I do want to comment on self-reflection in general. I mean, what we do when we're coaching is a different story. But Drexel has 6 Zoom-based sessions in the 3rd year on various prompts. What do you do when what unprofessional behavior have you seen? What did you do about it? What's your reaction to it? What's the lesson from it? There's a number of prompts having to do with stress, witnessing death, and et cetera, et cetera. Some of the really difficult triggers and tasks of professional formation as a clerkship student. And students get together for an hour and a quarter with a faculty member. We do some faculty development. And we have a faculty thread after each session to help each other. And those sessions become very valuable and supportive, because people typically, my students, I've been doing this for a number of years, one of the most common comments is, gee, I felt so alone. I didn't realize everybody felt this way, so it really helps with isolation and support of the group. And a lot of the core groups, have group me's, and now they support each other when something bad happens. And I think those groups help students become more self-reflective. And at the residency level, I ran the doctoring curriculum for many years, where I'd get a group of interns for 2.5 hours every week during a ambulatory rotation. And so I had just basically 8 sessions with them over 2 ambulatory rotations in the year. But I started each session with, okay, so what's left over from your last rotation? And that's, that was usually like a 45-minute discussion of people who were really hurt by stuff, and residents being able to talk to each other and give perspective and say, oh, that I know that attending who dissed you like that or humiliated you. That's just the way he is. He's, you can't take that personally. He does that to everybody, that kind of thing. And those sessions are self-reflective, and they become very valuable in helping residents get through with a sense of integrity. Comments, let's see. Best ways to approach well-being during training or duty years. Yeah, I think one of the best things is to focus on it. As a program, you can create some days for well-being. You can inquire as an attending. You can take 10 minutes and go, okay, just check in here. I want to make sure everybody is okay here, because we're not going to be giving the best care to our patients if anybody here is burnt out or stressed or so just let's go around the room and tell me what are you doing for your well-being. And if people are hesitant or look down or geez, maybe we should chat later. We have to be supportive. We have to be supportive of our trainees and support their well-being and their well-being activities, because they can't just keep putting it off. Other questions?
No, sir, there are no questions in the chat.
Yeah, there's another question. What steps should an institution take to inculcate professional formation in all steps of med school education? It really has to be a part of the curriculum, and it has to be in every year. And we have activities in every year of our curriculum about professionalism, from the very beginnings of what professionalism is. And I mean, obviously people know the white coat ceremony and others are commitments to professionalism, but we have people sign commitments in front of their peers and get them co-signed. So people take oaths. We don't use the Hippocratic Oath. We use one from the World Health Organization. We have sessions where we show videos of unprofessional behavior and have discussions in small groups about it. We have reflective sessions in small groups. We get our 4th-year students to teach our 1st-year students in a number of formats. And professionalism, attention towards professionalism is a big part of that. And they do that higher level of a professionalism assessment that you saw on those rubrics from the ACGME. They're actually now coaching their 1st and 2nd-year students in the kind of professional growth that they have had, and reassuring them about the ability to grow personally and professionally in med school. Yeah, it has to be a part of your exit objectives. We have a whole set of exit objectives, a document. And one of the exit objectives has to do with professionalism, and there's sub-competencies with that. And every clerkship, every course has to show how they're meeting those sub-competencies. Course directors have to look at that and reflect on it. So it has to become part of the DNA of your institution. And if it comes from the top down, and then the bottom up in terms of listening to people. I mean, we have plenty of feedback sessions, and we want to know from our students how well our curricular activities are working and whether they're effective or not. So, you know, so we can do some QI about our activities related to professional formation. So, yeah, you have to attend to it. All right. So I think we're pretty much at the end. I appreciate your giving me the opportunity to speak with your group today. People want to be in touch, happy to chat some more and respond.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Novack, for this great presentation. And to all who joined us, if you have any questions, please contact us directly at AOGME@aacon.org. This concludes our webinar. Thanks again to everyone who joined.